Hey, hello from Las Vegas. This is Chris, and I'm a gearhead, and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Actually, I live closer to Lake Las Vegas. What's Lake Las Vegas? It's a bougie suburb on the outskirts of Las Vegas. If you watch the Jersey Shore Vacation, that's Lake Las Vegas. So, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I want to apologize for that. 3 weeks ago, I sprained my back, so I took some time off, and then a week later, I sprained my back again. So as far as health, happiness, and hugs, and all of that good stuff, it's coming back at you. Now, last time I did one of these, I wanted to do a video on cassette tapes. More importantly, I wanted to do a comparison video on cassette tape recorder and a modern day loop pedal for a guitar. So today I'm going to use several different musical tools in order to make an example. Oh, by the way, this goes out to Lou Ottens. He is the inventor of the cassette tape. He just passed away, I believe, at 94 years old last week. Much love and health and happiness and hugs for his life and his legacy, and of course to his family, especially during these hard times. So I have 3 tools that I'm going to use to show an example on the audio capabilities of a cassette tape and how they still stand up. And I'm going to show you just what it sounds like in comparison to a loop pedal. So, for my loop pedal, I'm going to use a Boss Loop Station. I believe this is the RC1. It's pretty awesome. I believe the RC2 has drum sounds. But basically, this will record a track, and then it will repeat it over and over again, and then you could play another track on top of that as the old one repeats, and they will lay on top of each other. It's pretty damn cool. Let's see. I'm going to use my my Blackstar little mini amp in order to play the music, just so you can see what it sounds like in a louder, wider outside sound. And last but not least, I am using this guy. What is it? This is a Tascam tape recorder. What does it do? Well, you could record sounds, audio sounds on a cassette tape, and you could do it on 4 different tracks. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the cool thing about the cassette tape is that, let's grab one. These little guys, these little cassette tapes right there on that line. Let's roll it up so you can see. Now, when this awesome cassette tape invention came out, I believe in the late 60s, they had magnetic tape, but they didn't have a small stylized version like this, portable, that you could bring with you anywhere. Now, the cool thing about this, a regular everyday cassette tape, is you used to see one little line of magnetic tape right there. Believe it or not, you can record up to 4 different lines of audio on one single tape. So imagine that tape is split up into 4 sections, sliced up, and that's how you get the sound off of every video. You can actually get video on one of these too. An inventor, I saw him on YouTube as well as I saw him on Google. He has captured audio and video on the magnetic tape on a cassette tape, as well as there's another guy who is cutting cassette tapes and he's looping them like, what do you call it, a Mobius strip? It's a loop that folds into itself. He's doing that, bending one of these. So basically, a little cassette tape will do a loop, maybe a 20-second loop, a 10-second loop, so he can capture audio and have it loop back and forth in a Mobius strip. Who would have thought, dude? Who would have thought to put a Mobius strip in a cassette tape? Oh, as far as cassette tapes, let me tell you why I love these guys so much. Now, I'm a child of the 80s, and when I was a kid, these little ladies came with cassette tapes. So not only could you buy the doll and watch the cartoon show, but it also came with a promotional cassette tape. So you could hear their music And funny and cool as it is, on the other side you could hear the instrumental of the music. So when I was a little kid, I had a karaoke machine, and I would make my own music. I would make my own little albums with the songs that I would play on that little karaoke machine. But since I'm an older guy now and I know a little bit about recording, this guy can do the exact same thing. Before we begin, the third piece of gear I will be using to make my musical example is the RK100S. Yeah, the RK100S. I almost said 2 because they're coming out with the second version of this. It was on hold for COVID, I'm guessing, because the production probably couldn't happen during COVID. But the RK100S2 is coming out. I'm not really sure I'm super interested in the RK100S2. All the demos I've seen of that, I'm not really impressed with the sounds. This little guy, I do have favorites on it, so let's get started. So, when it comes to laying down a track, you gotta pick what sounds you wanna use and then lay them on top of each other. Now, I picked 3 different tracks off of this guitar. There's not a lot of favorites I have on this, but there are 1 or 2 sequences that I'm in love with, man. So I'm gonna play the sounds that I use for the mix, and then I'm gonna replay the mix for you after it's recorded so you can compare the sounds. So, the first... By the way, you would think my music room is my favorite room in the house, but believe it or not, my backyard is my favorite room in the house. What do we got? We got a... Right there is my fig tree, and on the other side, dude, is all the way over there at the end is a peach tree. I dig this place. I dig the backyard. I like to do my chilling back here. Now, 3 different tracks laid on top of each other. This is the first one. First track. The second one, just a little sound effects I wanted to add to the track. Kind of wobbly, kind of echoey. I dig it. So the last sound I chose for the track, just some synth strings on the edge with some bend. You feel me? Synth strings with the bend. So those are the 3 sounds I used for my track. Now first, we're gonna listen to it on the loop pedal, and then I'm gonna play a recording of the loop pedal on a cassette, and then you're gonna hear the whole thing on a cassette alone. Loop pedal. Okay, so that is the loop pedal. Now, we're gonna listen to this, a recording of the loop pedal on the tape recorder. Now, let's hear the difference. If you could hear one. can't hear much of a difference, can you? Believe it or not, the sound quality of this little cassette tape is pretty damn good. Now, if you had a cassette tape from 30 years ago and you throw it in your cassette player, if you got one, it will sound damn near the same as it did when you first had it. Now, the last comparison we're doing is the exact same loop, but recorded directly on the cassette tape from the guitar. What we're going to listen to is tracks 1, 2, and 3. I try to make it simple. That's me messing around right before I record the loop. Now what's cool about a Tascam is that I've got 3 tracks here. You could turn off and on your tracks however you like. This is just here's your track 1. Track 2. I love that bend. Track 3. Dude, that echo is just so weird, I had to use it. Now all 3 together. Honestly, unless you were like a sound engineer, you really couldn't tell the difference. Now, what is the technology in this guy and what is the technology in this guy? They're not unsimilar, but this is more like an MP3 player and this is more of your magnetic tape player. Now, my biggest love about old style gear is that artists back then, they worked with what they had. And believe it or not, most of the funnest music I've ever made has been on a cassette player, has been on a karaoke machine. So much love out to all the artists who use old school gear to basically get you through the day and to improvise and make a lot of fun music out of old stuff that most people wouldn't even play with anymore. Now, as far as the new one of these, it is cool. I'm happy that they're in production again because of COVID-19. But at the same time, I'm not terribly in love with the second generation of the RK100. Now, have they made the RK100 or RK100S, have they made it like full size of the 80s one with these like strips to work with these bend like ribbons? I would probably be totally in love with it, but now I'm not really shopping for that, dude. As far as old gear, I would love to get some more pedals. I'd love to get some more synthesizers just to play with. Oh, again, my fig tree, it's starting to sprout. I cannot wait. I hope everybody is finding themselves, I hope I'm finding you happy and healthy. It's been a hard month, man. Like I said, I sprained my back twice. I was very lucky in order to get my vaccine because I work in food service. If you are able, I would encourage you to follow the science. And if you feel comfortable, please get vaccinated. Not just for you, but for people you love. If you have elderly people in your life, if you care about everybody in the general public, I would suggest you get vaccinated. And as far as music and art, I believe that music heals and art has a healing factor inside of us. It inspires us, it brings us together, just like food, just like anything creative. I would encourage you to reach out to the people you love. It's been a very hard year. If you're going through any depression, I suggest that you would call out to people in your life who you can talk to. Again, COVID has hit us all very hard. This is why I embrace music and art in all forms. So, happiness, health, hugs from Lake Las Vegas, Nevada. Not sure what I'm doing next. I will think of something, or I will just put down more tracks and play those. Hugs, health, and happiness from Las Vegas.